This could be a very interesting year for very large deals in telecom, perhaps media as well, Brian. But perhaps this may be one of them, or maybe not. This morning, the Wall Street Journal reporting that Verizon CEO Lowell McAdam had made an overture, at least, a preliminary approach, is the way they put it, to Charter Communications involving the possible purchase of that company. Now, in some ways, those of us who traffic in these kinds of potential stories, not necessarily unexpected, but at the same time, when you actually go down the road of really considering whether or not this deal makes sense, it certainly has its share of roadblocks. And I want to add as well that we do see this kind of reporting these days where preliminary approaches are reported on, but there are no significant talks going on at this point, at least according to people who would be aware of those talks were they actually taking place. I can tell you it is not as though teams of advisors are meeting to try to devise a deal structure and anything of that nature. Yes, a preliminary approach may have been made, and perhaps it will lead to significant talks down the road, but let me give you a few thoughts here in terms of why at least it may be that it goes nowhere. One, of course, is whether you can get to the value that Charter and its significant shareholder Liberty Media would want, and that may be a key consideration because my understanding is that Liberty is very happy with its current ownership of roughly, let's call it 27% of the equity or so in Charter, which of course includes Time Warner Cable and the Bright House networks. Deals, by the way, that had only closed not that long ago to become one of the larger players in the so-called cable industry in our country. For example, Tom Rutledge, the company's CEO, his last set of options, it strikes at $563 a share. It gives you some sense, at least, as to his expectations of what he can accomplish with an independent Charter over time. Getting those margins up perhaps to as much as 41% is the idea, or at least the target for them. So there's a lot of road to go, and Liberty has been a constructive shareholder and perhaps believes as well there is a lot to go that would create value far above whatever Verizon could pay. And by the way, when it comes to what Verizon can pay, you have to consider dilution, which might be significant in any deal. Yes, there would be synergies. Yes, there might be job losses. And of course, in the current administration, job losses may not be something that people are particularly happy about seeing in a consolidating industry of this type. But we will see whether or not anything really comes to bear, because 5G and the idea of that coming years from now is something that is motivating Verizon to look around and figure out what its strategy would be. And when it does that, well, it can look at Comcast, the parent company of this network. It could look at Charter. It could look at Dish, which has a significant amount of spectrum that could at least be helpful as they roll out 5G many years from now. But it doesn't necessarily mean that anything is in the offing near term, guys. And so we'll see. This is going to be a very interesting year, though, overall for potential consolidation.
David,
we have Ajit Pai now taking over the FCC, saying forget net neutrality, most likely. That's gone. We have a DOJ that will be seen as very permissive, perhaps. And we do have the possibility of link-ups, whether it be T-Mobile and Sprint, whether it be Verizon potentially looking to do something big, or even our own parent company also.
But you have the agencies that are responding to the whims of a president that is somewhat unpredictable, too, especially in the case of AT&T Time Warner. And I wonder if you think that Verizon will be waiting to see how that plays out before making such a big deal of its own.
I'm not sure that they will, because it's going to be quite some time until we see that deal close. And of course, it is perhaps his dislike of CNN that has motivated some tweets on his part. Many people, Caleb, believe that deal will go through. It is vertical integration. It should not be stopped by the DOJ. These kinds of deals certainly will raise some regulatory questions, as would a tie-up of T-Mobile and Sprint, which is one we've been talking about a lot as a possibility. No talks that I'm aware of taking place there yet either.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.